Aries Neptune transit, among many things, will bring the holy wars. It's going to bring the holy wars. Understand that. The holy war was already initiated at the end of feminism and liberalism as South Node Libra transit over 18 months has already passed. And that has disempowered, disabled the regime of feminism and liberalism, which is Satan's kingdom. Understand. So the liberal and feminist regime, they're not going to give up. They're not going to give up. They're too far vested, and they have already identified with those energies, many of them. And the muscle of that regime, the fat ox of that regime, is an African American female. She is the main one, the main character, the muscle, the grit, the meat of the ass, okay, behind that whole regime, that movement. She would dedicate her lungs, her throat, her mouth, her wig, and everything else she has to keep it standing. Because she knows that through that system, through that regime, she has absolute power to exploit herself, her children, her family, her community. And it's not that it's her intention to be so destructive. It's that in her ignorance, she signs up to be a useful idiot for that agency and system. Understand? And hopefully she will come to see the real true light and reality concerning that. She is a useful idiot, okay, for that situation going on. And this began with the Obama era. It began with the Obama era. Now, with that being said, good versus bad, dark versus light, that's what Neptune is bringing into Aries, a holy war. And this holy war doesn't mean that it's liberals versus Republicans necessarily, but it's the vibrations, okay? Lower or dark vibrations versus higher or illuminated vibrations. Because again, I remind us that among Republicans, there's the same illness, okay? There's the same sickness. And what the illness of the Republican side looks like is white nationals, white Christian males who take Christianity and they become quite abusive and oppressive, disrespectful, overbearing with their ideologies. They become very racist and intolerant, okay? The same way that African American females do through liberalism and gay people do through liberalism, okay? On the Republican side, you have stubborn, older white men, arrogant white men, males who go to the extremes through Christianity and self-righteousness, and they forget the humanity, okay? Am I saying all white males? Absolutely. I am absolutely not saying that, okay? Am I saying all black women? Absolutely. I'm certainly not saying that, okay? But these tend to be the ones who represent the shadows of those different sides, okay? So you're going to have people coming out who are saying things like, get rid of all Muslims, get rid of all, people of color or of this country or of that nationality, out of these offices, or, having propagandas and agendas that speak of intolerance to people who have different religions, backgrounds, nationalities, and things of that nature. I'm not saying this is, the same context as people who are in America illegally, okay, because that does have negative and adverse effects. Everyone should be allowed to come to this country, but legally, so that it does not negatively affect the whole system operation, the strain of the economy, job opportunities, and other different things. It's just too many things to name, especially when you're stepping over our veterans and Americans who need resources, okay? The liberal side, they like to dress the matter as this is about immigrants, immigration, or people from different countries. No, They conveniently and deliberately leave out that one word, illegal immigrants. Okay. Nobody is standing against immigrants. Nobody's standing against people from different countries. Okay. The issue is illegal immigration, illegal immigrants specifically. That is the issue. So, without going so much into that, the holy wars. This is a time where we have to get decisive about who we are, what we believe in, what we stand for, and keep sight of the unity. This is about people of all colors, of all races and genders, okay? All classes in society who condone, enable, and support satanic ways in this life. For example, through liberalism, through the democratic left, uh, which upholds feminism as well, they were the ones. That was the side that was condoning children to have sex changes and stopping the parents from being able to interfere. That was the side, okay, who was exposed by Doge as exploiting and money laundering money, the people's uh, tax money, using it in dishonest ways. That was the side that was promoting feminism, which causes division between male and female, family, children and fathers, alienation of fathers, and vilification of the fathers, making them into villains, making them out to be the bad guys. Okay, this was the same wing that upholds the weaponization of family court, divorce court, and accelerating divorce rates, things of that nature. This is the same wing that uses celebrities who have ratchet culture and terrible messaging to children and the youth, and bringing them out to, lead political campaigns. Okay, the Megan the Stallions and people of this nature who are terrible representations for our daughters. Okay, and feminism that goes along with that whole entire wing and culture. This is the wing that brainwashes our women of this society to worship themselves and have others to worship them. And they worship their careers. They worship their jobs. They worship the status that they get from their careers. College degrees and career status is the only thing that they respect. Okay? It is a very wicked side of life. They have confused the children about their sexuality, about who they are, what is right from wrong. They have changed all the rules, and they have obscured and totally erased the moral compass of America. And that came from the democratic left, liberalism, the side that Malcolm X specifically warned us not to fuck with. Understand, okay? But you did it anyway. Niggas did it anyway, okay? Understand. So there is going to be a moral and virtuous going back and forth and challenging. Okay, technology, sciences, advances, and cultural shifts are going to have people to betray their morals, betray their values for get rich quick, for money opportunities, for status, for clout, for all of the things that we already are aware of in this society. But because of this spiritual revolution that's taken place, there are going to be people equally with the light that's going to give pushback to that by raising the consciousness, by raising the frequency, raising the awareness and the understanding. And that number 7 at the North Node, as well as the number 7 that goes into Aries by Neptune, that's going to dissolve illusions and give the truth that is behind the forms that deceive us, behind the verbiage that deceives us. Anything that deceives us is going to expose it through that number 7 energy entering into Aries. Okay, so this is also warfare over the identities. Okay, where you have good versus evil, light versus dark. That's going to be fighting to take over your identity so that you express yourself through the dark or you express yourself through the light. Okay, this is why we had to work through fears. This is why we had to work through the sicknesses of that 12th house, so that we cannot be bought, so that we cannot be manipulated, so that we cannot be played, so that we will not sell our souls for a price. Okay? So all of this goes hand in hand with it. This also brings wars between nations, obviously, as I will mention later on in this discourse. Now, some of those details should be understood as Donald Trump is already raising tariffs, and in just a few days, there's going to be a tariff war, okay, initiated between our nation and other nations that are not in compliance or that are not showing that they want to comply. What really represents that idea is, just like what we have going on with Canada. Okay, now Neptune and Pisces, this does represent foreign people and foreign nations. So foreign people or foreign nations, that means influence of that is going to be in Aries for 13 years. Okay, so for 13 years, we're going to have foreign affairs that are having direct effect on the identity of the people, direct effect on the strength of the nation, and direct effect on the 4th, 5th house of the nation as well, which is the home front, okay, and the people. 5th house, that is the youth, the most prized possession of the country, understand? So tariffs are going to have a direct effect on all of us as a result of this going back and forth. Prices are going to change. We're going to feel some of that. And there could be friction in many different ways that it unfolds, not only in tariffs, rumors of war, things of that nature. And also there will be many uprisings and protests going on as people are fighting for the rights of what their ideals are, okay? Because Neptune brings ideals into a war algorithm, Aries. So therefore, the war will be between differences of ideals, ideologies, beliefs, okay, and faiths. Understand that. Now, as I mentioned earlier, white national males who usually lead with Christianity as their moral excuse, they tend to say things like, all Muslims need to get out of here. This isn't a Muslim country. And those people who follow the Quran and the Sharia and all this, it's just pure ignorance, that people just spew out into the atmosphere. Terrorists and people who do things to harm other people who do things to abuse other people or to fearmonger other people, those are not people that represent religion. Those are people that represent their own fears and people that represent their own sicknesses, okay? Because every religion has somebody who fearmongers and somebody who leads with their fears and fearmongering to affect other people, but that does not represent any religion on earth. It does not represent any religion, okay? Because if that was the case, wasn't it Christians that were burning crosses right here in America on the front lawn of Negroes? Okay, wasn't it Christians who was condoning, white water faucet over here and a black water faucet over there? Wasn't it Christians who pulled up to the shores of the Americas, giving Native Americans all types of smallpox and gonorrhea and diseases because they was homosexuals on that boat? Okay, it's not a secret. They were full of disease, syphilis, and everything else. They came over here raping. They came over here stealing. They came over here oppressing and everything else. America was not just inherited by some honest handshake, okay? It was inherited through crime, through real crime. And it was Christians with Christian flags on their ships, okay, who came over here doing these crimes. And they went to every nation of the earth doing the same evils that they point their finger at other people doing, also behind the cross, okay, the cross and the shield. So while one finger is pointing at another, you're just the same person that the other person is. So how you got room to talk about Muslims, okay, And Christians been doing the same thing. But does that represent Christianity? No, it doesn't. It doesn't represent Muslims. Okay? You talk about terrorists and all this other stuff. Okay? Terrorism was being committed by white Christian nationals. Let me remind you, white male Christian nationals hanging niggas in trees, hanging black men in trees, okay? And then go to church the next day. So were we calling them terrorists? Even though those were acts of terrorism right here in America? What about the acts of terrorism in Philadelphia where they bombed their own citizens? What about the terrorism in Oklahoma where they bombed their own citizens? Okay? So white American national males, okay? White national males of the Republican side, they take Christianity and they weaponize it against Muslims and other people, okay? But to their ignorance, the founding fathers, especially Thomas Jefferson, these were owners of the Holy Quran, okay? Napoleon Bonaparte himself, he called himself Little Muhammad because he admired Muhammad that much. He worshiped Muhammad, okay? He believed in Muhammad. He patterned his ways after Prophet Muhammad, okay? The Constitution was informed by the Sharia. It was informed by Muslim law and Muslim wisdom. So they're very ignorant about their own history. They're very ignorant about the spectrum, the beam in their own eye as they're pointing fingers at others, okay? Because the racist, horrific atrocities committed by white Christians right here in America gives them no room to point a finger at any other nationality or religion without first examining themselves and seeing that they are guilty of any and everything that anybody can ever do here in America to another person. They have already done it and done it worse. My ancestors is witness to that. Understand, chattel slavery was right here. Jim Crow was right here. And it was not a long time ago. So how do white national males have room to talk shit about anybody else based on their religion and nationality and who got the right to stay here and who don't? Because, excuse me, first of all, they're out of time on the peace treaty and contract that they had to even be here in America on maritime law, because DC is United States. It is America. That's the only America. The rest was extended out as an extension of that corporation. Okay, this is maritime law. They don't even have the right to practice law within this country. They're not in jurisdiction. But according to your own consent, they can practice law. Okay? Anything goes when there is consent. But that's the ignorance that the people have, so it works. Okay? So you're going to have a lot of that ignorance going on and going back and forth. And it behooves us to really know who we are and lean into the light, follow the light, represent the light, uphold the light, defend the light, fight for the light through the highest frequencies that you can reach for. That's the answer right there. And whatever love, understanding, truth, justice will have you do, that's the right answer right there. We're supposed to be masters in which we transform bad into good, we transform dark into light. Understand? So let's lead with that. All right, what I want to lead with now is the Aries Neptune transit. Aries Neptune transit. Aries Neptune transit, what this suggests is our ideals that is going to be led by our assertive force. Our assertive force. Of course, that's not only you, the self, but it's also the other. The other. So you have to consider this from the first house and the seventh house. Just like you, yourself, according to the Aries algorithm, is considered according to your first house. You're going to lead with the ideals of your first house concepts, your first house concepts. And so the other person is going to be doing the same in opposition to you, or you in opposition to them. But when we come to the higher road, the road of understanding, collective view, higher wisdom, we can work together on these things without conflicting with these things. Now, Neptune, of course, can bring confusion if we're not vibrating high enough, if we're not flying high enough. You'll be in a confusion instead of the revolution of ideas and ideals. So Neptune is bringing ideas and ideals that does not have a previous pattern, a previous form that others have necessarily agreed upon. It does not have any limitations, and it does not have any discretion or discrimination, that is, in what it is allowed to or not allowed to do. So this is like bringing in the wild, wild west, in a way, okay, where it's quite lawless in a sense, okay, lawlessness. So we are going to feel fully authorized to live out our personal realities and to project our ideals out into the world, knowing from a cosmic sensitivity that things could be better or should be better, or things could be different or should be different. And we're going to actually put force behind those ideals and making sure that it's the creative processes that are necessary to see it in full fruition and demonstration, to see it as a reality. So we're going to actually start acting on those things. Now, what is it supposed to look like, to the individual on a personal level, is that Neptune is going to bring a spiritual context to how we're using our Aries energy. It's going to take a spiritual purpose, a spiritual direction because of Neptune. Neptune is going to purge away all of the misappropriations and misuse of the Aries tip of the knife. Understand, Aries represents the tip of the sword, the tip of the knife, and we're no longer going to be using it for purposes that are not pure. So with Neptune passing through Aries, it's purifying the use of Aries in and of itself. So now personalities will be tailored to deliver out the spiritual cause that's being realized, that's being downloaded for the collective. And of course, you guessed it, what this looks like is the Christ impulse downloading to the collective. This is the collective ascending up to the Christ impulse. We are becoming the return of the Christ in this sense. This is us becoming Christ, okay? The active of, because Aries is the active of the sun's energy. It is the active of, the force of, that which asserts the sun's energies and wishes and demands an oracle out into a reality. Aries makes sure that it has physical representation and expression out into the world. And once that is initiated and started, what sustains it is Leo, the steady flame, the consistent flame, the fixed flame. Understand? What expands that is Sagittarius, of course. Okay, and that's the passion of the truth. That's the passion of. So we had to purify these parts of ourselves, and what purifies the way that we relate to Neptune is going to the algorithm of Neptune, which is Pisces. Okay, Saturn is still working on clearing away fears, guilt, greed, lust, okay, competition, all of these shadows and all of these seven demons or seven evils, seven sins, okay, out of the 12th house in Pisces, so that we're coming from a sincere and pure place with what we are creating and co-creating out into the world. Collectively, what we are going to realize is, hey, what we have been missing is our spiritual commitment. What we have been missing is our spiritual reality collectively, and we all have been suffering as a result of that. So I'm going to bring this portion of the spiritual reality. You're going to bring that portion of the spiritual reality. And naturally, anything that operates through Neptune and Pisces, you see the commonality, you see the unity, you see the oneness, you see the singularity in that expression. Okay? So we're naturally going to recognize that what I'm bringing through the Aries Neptune impulse is going to be complementary to what the other person is bringing through the Aries Neptune impulse. There is no need for competition. You understand? There's no scarcity. There's no need for competition. So at a high frequency, such as Neptune, we are overflying all of those lower impulses of competition, animosity, division, separation, things of that nature. And we're flying at a very high altitude and frequency with Aries. Okay, what Aries algorithm does to the Neptune is it delivers holiness, it delivers righteousness, it delivers purification, it delivers understanding, compassion, unity, forgiveness, the taking down of barriers and boundaries that cause separation. And we're re-identifying with that wholeness. We're re-identifying with that unity. And we are seeing through the forms of things. We are seeing through the images of things, the representations of things, certain wording and certain communications or narratives that paints a separation or provocation of the people through fear, fear-mongering, and hysteria. Okay, we're going to dissolve all of those things and see through it. Neptune brings number 7 vibration through Aries, which is 1 vibration. Okay, which is 1. That is correlative, just like the sun, to the magician card. Okay, it is to create from nothing. Understand? So 7 is to get to the truth, the root of the truth, what the real reality is. So even as technology is advancing, even as we're going to higher levels of technology and technological advancements in science, computer engineerings and softwares and all these different things, and biochemistry as well, medicine, through Aquarius Pluto, Neptune is going to redirect all of this to spiritual power. Now, what's unique about this is that Aries represents the individual, the person at the first house. We have AI technology, robots, and special sciences and whatnot that's going to be coming out that many are saying, okay, is going to be able to compete with the human being, thinking very fast, calculating and making judgments and decisions and such at rapid speed, okay, at speed that is immeasurable, okay, at a fraction of the time that it would take a human being to do certain, motor task, okay, regulatory tasks and such. AI producing intelligence, going through special algorithms to produce chains of thought, okay, thought processes and judgment and so on and so forth. However, this is God's favor on us by bringing Neptune into Aries, which makes us inimitable. It makes us someone, a being, a creature that cannot be copied or duplicated, okay? Because how is an AI technology going to copy the spiritual being? It cannot. Because what Neptune does through Aries is it takes the individual and it clothes the individual with spiritual power. And when we are clothed with spiritual power, we come to a collective agreement upon a collective reality that includes emphasis and importance and priority on spiritual value and spiritual themes. And the spiritual value and spiritual themes are matters that only the human can relate to, that only the human can understand, and that only the human can articulate and get together upon. A robot cannot even begin to compete with that. Okay? Intuitive and clairvoyant power, intuitive and clairvoyant talent, intuitive and clairvoyant gift, intuitive and clairvoyant basis of interactions, standards of interactions. We are standardizing now intuition and clairvoyance as the foundation of our connection. This is now the foundation of our connection. When I say spirituality, I'm certainly not referring to religion. Spirituality is a much higher frequency than religion. It is to hold an understanding that is in agreement and unison with the will of this universe, doing no harm, doing no construction, doing no destruction, and causing no oppression or injury. Okay, that is to have the spiritual view. Robots are not going to be able to keep up with that. So we're going to create a reality that has a demand for spiritual themes, for spiritual needs. And robots can't provide that. AI can't provide that. And there goes our new market. Not only is it our new market, but it's our new standard of what allows us to feel security, to relate to exchange of value, the way by which we judge each other in determining value, who we should be surrounded by, what's important, what do we lead with, what is the point of agreement that we come upon. All of these different things is now a spiritual context. This is Christ's impulse that is downloading through the algorithm of Pisces on behalf of Neptune entering into Aries. First things first, we don't want to consider, okay, all of the degrees of Aries and Neptune, because Neptune has different expressions with every degree that it crosses with Aries. First is to consider the first degree, the 0 in the first degree of Aries, okay? The 0 is a waiting phase, okay? This is where you're waiting in the chamber because you just got done closing up, having closure with what Neptune was doing, okay? It was dissolving. So now at 0, it's at a pure state where the imagination is now free to bring down new ideals, ideals that have not been thought of yet, ideals that have not been agreed to yet, ideals that have not come down to our collective reality, ideals that's going to move us forward. And because it's an Aries, this means pioneers, okay? Pioneers for a spiritual reality collectively. So our talents, our gifts, our first house personality, who we are, the purpose of our life and destiny is going to be geared toward collectively coming together to pioneer a new reality in a new world that has a spiritual basis as the context of relativity. Understand, as the context of relativity. We are going to relate on very high spiritual frequencies because of Neptune and Aries. Your first house expression is going to serve Neptune. Understand? So what does it look like for your first house expression to serve Neptune? Through the first house algorithms of the self and what that personality is designed to accomplish or do, what its value is, what its purpose is, what it is most effective at doing, is understood at the Aries placement. Okay, so your first house is most effective at the house of your Aries. Okay, that's how that works. For example, if you're a Leo rising, your first house is Leo, you are most effective at the 9th house. You are most effective at the 9th house Aries. Okay, if you happen to be a say Cancer rising, then you are most effective at the 10th house. If I looked at that right. Okay, so that is where you are most effective at. And Neptune is coming to the place where you have the most effective power of initiation and creation. Okay, creation, creativity. That's where you create the spark of creation for what you're here to create. Now, what your creation sustained, what the sustained creation looks like, is going to be at your Leo placement. So your Leo placement is where you have constancy or consistency in the representation of what you are destined to create. When you look at Sagittarius, that is the means by which you spread the benefit of that which you create. It's at your Sagittarius placement, okay? And this is different for every rising or ascendant sign because it's according to the houses, the 12 houses. Understand? Imagination. Imagination is everything now. Imagination is everything. Your ability to use your imagination effectively, your ability to use your imagination creatively, without fear, without limitation, without guilt, without shame, without trauma, clearing out your imagination, getting sober, getting grounded. Understand? Making sure that no one has a grasp over your mind. Your mind is the most powerful thing in this timeline. It is the greatest thing that you have is your mind, the power of your mind. Don't let anything have your mind. What does this look like? Are you worshiping other people? Understand? Don't answer that so quickly. Are you worshiping other people? Are you worshiping other things that you shouldn't? You see, does someone have control of your mind, control of your imagination? Does fear control your mind and imagination? Fear. Understand? How do you know fear is controlling and ruling you? You can't be present because you keep reaching into the future, anticipating some harm or some disappointment, some injury that you're anticipating, some effect or consequence that you're anticipating. You're unable to be present. If you can't be present, how can you use the power of your imagination? Because your imagination is preoccupied with what you fear coming to you. If you are attached to the past through grief, you don't have closure. You can't let go of what you knew to be true. You can't let go of what the scales of justice have determined. So you're unable to transform because you can't surrender to the disillusionment and go through that Scorpio process. So now the grief has you in the past. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran, he said to Adam and Eve when they descended from the garden into earth, he said, from me to you, he said, from me to you will come time to time, revelation and guidance. Okay, revelation and guidance. For those who follow my guidance, on them shall be no grief, nor shall they fear. On them shall be no grief, past, okay, the past, nor shall they fear, the future. You see? So if you follow the guidance, you can be present where the benefit of the guidance is at. When you grieve, you're attached to the past. You're not present. When you fear, you're attached to the future that has not even manifest yet. You're not present. Neptune relates to the future. So what blocks Neptune is fear. You see? So you can't connect with your Neptune if there's fear. With Neptune coming into Aries, your fear is well matched because Aries, it drives over fear. It overpowers fear. It dominates fear itself. It strikes aggressively against fear. It overcomes fear. It walks even though it knows fear is there. So this is Neptune coming into an algorithm with Aries with intense boldness, courageousness, fearlessness, if you let it. If you let it. Understand, if you're not empowering the fear more than you are empowering your creativity. Now, what keeps us in a state of fear is living unjust, is being unjust to ourselves or being unjust to others, because subconsciously you're going to understand that what goes around comes around. This is why you don't treat people bad. This is why you keep good karma. This is why you treat people good. This is why you do justice wherever you go. This is why you have integrity. This is why you clean up your character. This is why you seek for salvation and atonement. This is why you practice confession. This is why you clean up. This is why you dress in white. Because when you live right, you don't have to have fear. When you do what you're supposed to do, you don't have to live in fear. And with that being said, when there's the minimalization of fear, when you can get rid of fear, you get fear out of the way, or when you learn how to walk with fear, even though it's there, you still move forward. Your creativity has greater accessibility to you. You could greater access your power of creativity. But living wrong, doing dirt, doing wrong, okay, you're blocking your creativity because of fear, the anticipation of the return of your karma. Understand? Now, grief blocks of course, intuitive power, because that's the past in hindsight. So when you look at the moon's power, you're blocking the power of the lunar, you're blocking the power of the moon through grief. When you're constantly grieving, you are blocking your intuition. You're blocking your way to home into what inner child is saying, because you're not present with inner child. You're in the past. You're attached to what you're trying to control and change into a reality that did not unfold the way that you wanted it to. Understand? And the moon has to go through Scorpio to get rid of that, to overcome that. Understand? You want to consider the things that you was going through with Aries Chiron transit. Aries Chiron transit. Concerning Aries Chiron transit, there's a lot of pain, sense of inadequacy, doubts of the self, self-criticism, self-judgment. I'm not good enough. You know, why me? Why is everybody always picking on me? Why God don't love me? Why God don't like me? God don't hear my prayers. You know, if only I had this, or if only I had that, I would be successful. You know, it's the weakness, the shortcoming that you have that you just cannot overlook or ignore. You have to face it and deal with it and accept that you're imperfect. Okay. Through the Chiron retrogrades, we learned a lot about how to process emotional burdens as it relates to our identity, emotional burdens of inadequacy, emotional burdens of low self-esteem, emotional burdens of not being able to connect to the true and authentic identity, the fear of being the true self, the shadow work, incorporating the dark sides of the self in a healthy and constructive way. We had to learn these things. And now Neptune is passing through a clear lens. It's passing through a table that has been sanitized. Understand? The workbench is now sanitized because we've been doing that work, hopefully. If we didn't, it would have gotten in our way through fear. Again, okay? Because fear is what destroys or dilutes the power of Neptune that we have, within our reach. And now we're no longer able to take advantage of that power. These are things that we really want to be thinking about. Our imagination and dreams have to become a real reality to us, not something that we doubt. We're supposed to be dreamers now, pioneers, the first to go in a direction that nobody's been going, the first to do what nobody has done. We have to wear the new path in the areas where we see that humanity needs to go. You have to be the first. Pioneers. The pioneers have to have courage and boldness because there's no pathway to walk in. You're laying the first footsteps of the pathway that should be there, but it's not. So where in your life have you suffered? And looking back and seeing, there should have been a pathway there because I shouldn't have had to go through all of that. What do you see is missing? And your pain in hindsight, your suffering in hindsight lets you know what's missing. Like I always like to say, I became who I was looking for. Okay? And the astrology world is covered with nothing but feminists. It's covered with liberals and feminists. Okay? Females who don't like men, females who interpret everything to be happy, 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 pink world, love, 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 positivity and light, and all kind of feminist interpretations of what the stars and sun planets are saying, watered down bullshit. I got tired of that. What about men? What about masculine men? A bunch of gay men. And I don't have nothing against gay men, but astrology has been taken over by gay men and feminists. And you have nothing but softness out there in astrology. You don't have reality. You don't have people that are really bringing astrology to reality. So I became the person who I was looking for, knowing that there would be somebody else who needed it. That's the pioneer. Okay. So Your pain shows you, and whatever you suffered, whatever you went through in the timeline behind you, something should have been there, but it wasn't. But now it's your chance to put it there, you know? And, you know, for example, in this generation, young girls don't have examples of women. America is full of women that are just nothing but whores. They're little whores. You know what I'm saying? I'm just being honest. America's women are whores. They're whores and sluts. They sleep around. They got mad bodies. They go from dick to dick to dick, sucking and fucking. They don't respect their bodies. They don't respect their wombs. They're feminists. They want to control the world. And then when they get the power, the freedom, the liberty that they get, they destroy themselves, they destroy the children, they destroy everything for their selfish delusions. And they don't apologize. There are no examples. There are very few examples for females to pattern their lives after. Females need examples. They need people to teach them. They need demonstration. They need examples of what women look like, how they're supposed to carry themselves, what the character is supposed to look like, what is womanhood, what is motherhood supposed to look like. These little girls have very few examples in America. So in hindsight, hopefully some women will see that we need finishing school. We need something established to show girls how to become women, because they mamas is hoes just like them. And they grandmamas is hoes too. And it was just passed down generation after generation. A bunch of feminists. In and out of divorce court. In and out of family court. Gimme, 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 gimme. He got to have this. He got to have that. Gimme, gimme, gimme. So we need women. We need representations of what womanhood is, what motherhood is, what women really are, what they are really, without feminism tainting that idea. Tainting that representation. We don't need feminism. It's a problem. It goes against all of us. It especially goes against the children. So what have you suffered that you now know you should create so that the next person behind you don't have to suffer going that same pathway, going that same route? That's what you should give back to the world through this Neptune Aries. You're catching a vision of an ideal that the pain of your identity has given to you. There's enough pain in your identity through all 29 degrees of Aries to where every degree of Aries that Neptune touches, it should give you a new gift to give back to the world. You should have 30 gifts to give back to the world through that. You suffered in 30 ways, 30 degrees of Aries. So what does the pain of Aries tell you you should give back to the world? What does it tell you that you should formulate and create, initiate for whoever's behind you that's just like you? That's what we're supposed to be doing with this Aries Neptune. Understand, to know what it looks like for your chart personally, okay, it's a different ball game. There's different things I have to include and coming to these conclusions. Okay, so you want to get a reading if you want to understand what that means for you. Understand? Now, eventually, this is going to mean some serious conflicts, even wars that are going to break out over independence. Over independence. Neptune in Aries is going to refuse to be someone else's ideal. This is to say, I'm going to be my ideal, not your ideal. Fuck your ideal. I'm going to be my ideal. That's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to be me. You're going to be you. And you're going to take your grubby hands off of me, trying to force me to be what you want me to be, how you want me to be. Fuck you. Okay? That's that attitude. That's what's downloaded. And this is going to happen between nations and countries. Look at Burkina Faso, okay? Burkina Faso. Let me say that again, because some of y'all just, be falling asleep on what I'm saying and don't want to look it up. Look at Burkina Faso, Africa, nigga. The fuck? Look at Burkina Faso, okay? They are getting France's grubby hands off of them. Okay, France had the grubby, slimy, filthy, funky ass hands all over Burkina Faso, fucking them in the ass, just like they did Haiti and many other countries. Okay, and Britain too, the Queen. Okay, her grubby ass got her filthy ass fucking hands all over all these nations, especially Africa, exploiting them, abusing them, being tyrants over them. And Burkina Faso, they finally stood up for themselves. They said, look, all y'all evicted. We don't need your help. We don't want your support. We don't want your loans. We don't want your money. We don't want nothing from you. Just get out. Just go. And they took back their identity. Now they're becoming their own ideal. That's Neptune, Aries. Aries, Neptune. Okay? You're becoming your own ideal of yourself, not a concept or ideal that somebody else wants you to live out for their benefit, for who they are. Now, obviously, you're going to piss people off as you do this. The more you're being yourself and not the ideal that somebody expects or wants you to be, the more you're going to piss other people off, the more you're going to make other people angry until they themselves elevate and learn how to get some independence. When somebody's used to using other people who are submissive, using other people who bow down to their ideals to live out, they're going to get very unhappy when that person finally realizes that they have a free will and they could go their own way and they do it. They're going to get mad. So this is what's going to happen between nations. I'm going to be my own ideal. You know, I don't care about your organization. I don't care about what we've been doing. I don't care about how it used to be. This is the way I'm getting ready to do this now. So that's coming down the pipeline. We already dealt with the fallout. That's what the retrograde Chiron Aries was about. That's what all of the transits through Scorpio was about. Pallas Athena 3 times. Okay. Black Moon Lilith entering now. Juno about to go retrograde back into Scorpio. Juno already made its way through Scorpio. Vesta in Scorpio. Okay. All of these things are significant because Scorpio themes and transits, as well as Pluto, along with Aries Chiron, it taught us, and let me not forget, the 7-month transit of Mars through Cancer. All of these things prepared us for the rejection. It prepared us for the fallout. It prepared us for the fight. It prepared us for the time where people will walk away from us, diss us, disrespect us, try to tarnish our character, make us feel guilty, guilt trip us, all these other things, try to control us. It prepared us for how to deal with that. It gave us tools, it gave us wisdom, it gave us technology, it gave us understanding, it gave us insight, foresight, and how to deal with those things. We are now okay. I'm okay if you want to leave. I'm okay if you don't like me. I'm okay if you reject me. I am okay if I can't come and be a part of your club. I'm okay if I don't fit in. I'm okay. We are okay with that now. In Aries Neptune, it allows you to project your ideals without interference because you already healed all these things. You already dealt with all those things over and over and over and over and over again. So we were going through all of these lessons so that it can condition us to not flinch when it comes to creating God's kingdom on earth through Neptune. When it comes to becoming the return of Christ, the Messiah. Okay, we are the Messiah collectively. And that's who's returning, the Messiah. We're returning with a sword. We are returning with a sword. No longer do the tricks and lies work on those who have evolved, who have done this work. The tricks and the lies don't work. The fake news, the tantrums and the drama that politicians are trying to play. Artists, celebrities, and all of their miserable lives, drowned in money and materialism and lust, devil worshiping, all of those sick things. None of this stuff should impress us anymore. Women running around, running amok in America, and their freedom that they're abusing, the liberation that they're abusing, their perversions, their wickedness, the lack of morals, lack of values, lack of respect for themselves, lack of reverence for their own wounds. It no longer affects us. We're no longer affected by all these things. We were forced to put ourselves in a position where we self-medicate, where we self-heal, where we turn inward to find our solutions and to find our light, to find the way forward. We are now okay. Nobody should be desperate for anything or anyone after we learn these lessons. Nobody. So we no longer are in a bind where we feel like we have to sell our soul, sell our identity, sell our truth, sell our name, sell our mission, sell our fate, sell our soul. No, that's over. Because we faced the fears. We faced all the fears. There's nothing you could do to me now because you already did it all. I've seen it. This especially applies to men. Men are on the come up. Men are on the rise. Men are ascending. Men are being blessed right now, elevated, raised up, because men have been down for so long. Feminism has suppressed and oppressed men, males, boys, fathers, husbands. Men have been oppressed in this world by feminism, abused by feminism, the tyranny of feminism, the hatred and animosity of feminism, the violence of feminism, and the abuse of women behind it. Men are now going to be protected from that and brought up. Nothing in society will be able to form as a weapon against men by the hand of females. Nope, not where we're headed at. That's over with. And you remember last summer when I was calling it that feminism will be falling and everything that's upholding it. And what happened? Y'all didn't believe me. But lo and behold, a couple of months ago, you got to bear witness to exactly that taking place. So you could doubt me right now, but I know I'm the one who's going to have the last laugh. As the truth, as the proof and the evidence of this taking place starts to unfold. Men are on the come up. God is blessing men right now. They're about to come up and out of hiding. They're about to come up and out of dormancy. Men had to retreat for so long and go into hiding for so long because this world just doesn't embrace them. This world doesn't respect them. This world doesn't honor them. This world doesn't appreciate and value men. Men are just abused and treated any type of way. They go into the grave with their name shitted on by some lying females, narratives that females own. Females have owned and ruled the narratives for decades upon decades upon decades. People have believed everything that females said for decades upon decades. Now all of that changes. Her beauty used to put men in spell, but now the men who have sense, they see through it. When you see a fine woman walking down the street with a nice shape and high heels clicking on the earth and makeup and perfume blowing in the air and all this other stuff, what do you see? You see trouble. You see a problem. You see the devil. You see a burden. You see a headache. You see expenses. You see debt. You see family court. You see divorce court. You see power struggles. The last thing you see is peace when you see a woman coming who's dressed up in all these decorative things, looking all fine and all this other stuff. That's a fucking headache. And men have come to this realization now. They have ascended. They see the truth now. Understand? It's the regular girls who are superior. It's the regular girls who are risen up. It's the regular girls who are blessed and anointed on the forehead. It's the regular girls who are the ones who we see as peace. The regular ones. These fine girls, light skinned and all this other stuff and looking all decorated and fine, pretty, beautiful and all this. Those are fucking burdens. They are predators. And niggas is getting the fuck away from them. Men have learned to appreciate and prioritize their peace. They prefer the peace than to deal with burdens of these American westernized women. They are trouble. And when men get that cleared out the way, Neptune becomes a gift to the man because now he becomes a visionary. He becomes an inventor. He becomes a pioneer. So now we all are going to become pioneers in our own right. And what informs that is the pain of the past. It lets us know, what do we need? Because I suffered this and I suffered that. I suffered this and I suffered that. So nobody else has to suffer. I'm going to put this right here and this right here, and I'm going to make this and that and that. And now you are blessing your world. You're blessing the community. You're giving back from your own pain. That's Pisces. That's what Pisces is all about. 12th house represents undoings, but it's only undoings until you give it illumination. Once you give it illumination, those same undoings, those same sins, those same iniquities, it transforms into unconditional love and compassion, which you serve the world with. That's where it comes from. We are serving through unconditional love and compassion, but you have to suffer first in order to serve from unconditional love and passion. Did you not know that only the wounded can heal? And we are the wounded healers. Understand? We are wounded, therefore we heal. And we are healing while we are wounded. We are healing from the wound. Understand? So, to make these necessary transformations, Juno is going back into Scorpio. Black Moon Lilith is in Scorpio. Scorpio is going to heighten its potency in our being. It's going to heighten its potency in our being. Scorpio, resilience, courage, the bravery to look the gun in the muzzle and not flinch. Resilience, surrendering to what we know we don't have the power to change, and focusing focusing our forces on that which we do have the courage to change. Channeling in to find the wisdom to know the difference between those things. Strategizing, not just impulsively playing checkers. Staying true to the constitution of the self through the instincts. Observing from outside of the self the patterns of the amygdala, the flight or fight mechanism, knowing that we are in charge of that. So all of these things are culminated into one that's supporting and upholding Neptune through Aries. Now, what gets us to actually produce from that, to go against all the forces that will go against us in doing so, is Saturn. Okay? When Saturn gets into Aries, that's when we get it on and popping with establishing what we're creating. Establishing what we are creating. And that's through karmic processes. And the karmic processes, it gives us authority, it gives us grit, it gives us strength, and it gives us, most of all, the character to sustain the resistance that's inevitable as to be a pioneer in the rights that we choose. And that's according to the house that you have, Aries. Understand? So let's know who we are. Let's know what we're here to do, what we got to do, what this is all about. And your questions help me to understand what I need to teach. Understand that. So I need everybody to get more involved. You know what I'm saying? Participate, because we have to create a learning atmosphere. We have to create a learning environment. I don't want nobody coming here licking the fucking windows and picking boogers. If you subscribe just so you could chill in the back and be a fucking bum, get the fuck out. It's just that simple. Hit the unsubscribe and get the fuck out, because we don't need you. You dead weight. Get the fuck out. I need people that's going to participate. You know what I mean? What you don't understand, ask questions. If it's a simple question, I'll answer it in the comment because it helps the next person understand deeper. Make a learning environment. Do your portion. I'm doing my portion. You know what I mean? I don't get paid for this. But some of y'all being some bum ass niggas, you know what I'm saying? I don't need your fucking money. I'm not asking you for money. I'm just asking for your participation. Understand? That's enough. Is that not fair? You know what I'm saying? Y'all niggas come here learning shit, taking shit and going with it, but you can't participate to help to contribute to the community or environment that you came to learn from. You know what I mean? What the fuck is that? Who are you? That's some narcissistic shit. You know what I mean? For real. Like, the nigga shit gotta stop, is what I'm saying. We will learn how to be a community. We will learn how to be mature and think outside of our selfish aims, our selfish perspective. Oh, I'm just going to come in here. I'll leave that to somebody else. I'm just going to listen and learn and sit here in the back and I'm going to be quiet. I ain't going to say, no, fuck you, nigga. For real. Fuck you. Eat a dick and choke on it, nigga. That's how I feel about you. For real. If that's what you're doing, that's how I feel about you. Eat a dick and choke on that shit, nigga. For real. Drive a fucking car off the cliff, nigga. That's how I feel about that shit. You're selfish. You heard? This is about every fucking body. I come here because it's about for every fucking body, not just myself. Otherwise, I keep all the shit to my motherfucking self and the clients that I got behind the scenes. You know what I mean? Don't come taking shit and you can't give the fuck back. Fuck type shit is that? Fuck you, nigga. Fall over and die for all the fuck I care, nigga. Cause that's how you treat me. Fuck you. You heard? That's how I feel about that shit.